Concordia Technology Solutions. This is the Church Management Software Checklist, 106 questions to ask before you buy church management software. My name is Peter Frank. I am the manager of Concordia Technology Solutions. I've been with this group for about 2.5 years, and we've got a lot of exciting things going on. I'm happy to share it with you today. My contact information is up there. You're welcome to contact me at any time. You've got my email address, my direct line, and then our toll-free number, 800-325-2399. That'll take you to our sales line. You can just give that a call and ask for me. I'd be happy to talk with you about just about anything. All right, well, we are Concordia Technology Solutions. We've been developing church management software since 1984, back when, before the days of Windows. We had DOS-based applications. Today we have two different church management software products. We have Shepherd Staff, which has been a key product for us since 1994. And we recently released a new product called Church 360 Members. It's a web-based church management software. That was in 2012. So Shepherd Staff is on Windows, and Church 360 is on the web. So today we're going to be talking about the results of a survey that we did. We surveyed about 3,500 of our current customers, and we received hundreds of responses. We received feedback from pastors, office managers, treasurers, volunteers, and more. We asked them, what do you want to know when you're looking for new church management software? So they've already been through this process before, and it's a pretty daunting process. And as you can see, we have 106 questions to ask. There's a lot of things to consider as you're getting ready to buy church management software. So let's dig into them. We've got two types of questions. The ones that are indicated with little church icons are questions that you at your church should be asking the other church staff. And it's kind of a self-assessment to figure out exactly what your needs are, what your preferences are, what kind of processes do you do. So there's a lot of questions that you'll ask before you even start contacting other companies. And then when you see this little laptop icon there, those are the questions that you should ask the sales representative with the software companies that you're considering. So this will give you kind of a homework assignment and then a process to follow when you've got these sales representatives on the line. So the first group of questions is related to the decision, and that's really important. This goes back to that self-assessment. First off, why are you moving away from your current software solution? It could be that you don't have a solution at all, but if you do have one, ask what brought about this change. Was it a change in the software itself? Is it a change in staff at your church? Something has started that has caused you to start looking at church management software. So make sure you're aware of what that is. And make sure everybody that you're working with knows that too. So the next two questions, what do you not like about your current solution, and what do you like about it? There's pros and cons to every single church management software. So make sure that you know exactly what you don't like so that you can look for those things in the next one, and know exactly what you like so that you don't have to worry about changing those things. So then decide a time frame. What is your time frame for making this decision? Is it going to be in the next month? Are you planning for the next quarter or the next fiscal year? And then what's your budget? There are various prices of church management software, and if you don't know where your cap is, that's going to make the decision that much harder. Well, then talk through what is your process at your church for making the decision. Is it a one-person show? Does it need to go through various levels of approval? Is it done by committee? And then ask yourself, who needs to be involved in making this decision? We recommend that the group is not too large, because too many opinions will make it very difficult to decide. But a group under 5 people, or even 2 to 3, is probably our best recommendation for that. So who will review the different software options, and who has the final say? When you're scheduling demos and researching it, you can't have a large group reviewing all the options. They'll just drag out the process too long. So who's going to be reviewing the software options, and then who's going to be making that decision? So next, let's talk about users. Who will be using this software? At churches, this really varies, because in smaller churches, you'll have a lot of volunteers using it. So in addition to the church staff, you'll have people who use it on the nights and the weekends. If at a larger church, generally it's just the staff people who are using it. So make sure you make a list of who will be using this software. And then ask, what level of computer knowledge do these users have? Are they novices? Are they experts? There's some of the software out there is really complex and can do some really powerful things, but if your users aren't used to software like that, they may struggle and that may not be the best bet for you. So does your church staff use PCs, Macs, or both? Ideally, you'd want to find a solution that works with your current hardware. But if you find a software that works better, then you may need to change that. So making sure to note that down. Most software that's installed will only work on PCs or Macs, not both. Now, web-based applications will work on both. So then ask, what other software does the church staff or these other users use on a regular basis? They want something that they're familiar with, and so a lot of our customers are very familiar with Microsoft Office, such as Word, Excel, Outlook, but others may be more familiar with the Mac products or like the Adobe Creative Suite. So that gives you kind of an idea of what their preference level is, what software they use. Then ask, does your church utilize a computer server? Because if it doesn't have a server and it relies strictly on individual computers, then your best bet is to look for a web-based application. But that's something that you'll know right away. And then lastly, who's your on-site technical support person? Generally, you'll be able to get the support from the company, but some things have to be done on-site, such as setting up your network or resolving any server issues. So make sure you identify that, and everybody on your decision committee understands who that is, and it's really good to get that person involved in the decision too. So some general questions. Do you prefer web-based or a server-based solution? Like we talked before, if you don't have a server, web-based is probably your best option. If you are going web-based, do you plan on using this on mobile devices like your phones or your tablets? Do you prefer a one-time fee or regular billing? Sometimes the financial structure of the church will dictate one over the other. You may not have the resources for a one-time fee, but you have very regular giving, and so you could afford a regular bill. And then if you have a regular billing, do you prefer to pay monthly or annually? So with install-based software, server-based software, there's generally an initial startup fee, and then sometimes there's support fees after that. That's how we do it with Shepherd staff. But with Church 360 members and other web-based applications, it's called software as a service. There's regular billing and either a monthly bill or an annual bill. So then ask, we're getting to the questions now that you'll start to ask the companies as you're reviewing your options. First off, does this specific solution allow the number of users that you need? Some solutions allow an unlimited number of users. Some have their pricing based on the number of users who will be using it. So that's definitely something to ask right at the beginning, because the price will often depend on that. And then does it allow for different user permission groups? There's various levels of information that needs to be shared within a church, especially when you start to get into the topic of pastoral care and the notes that the pastor or the elders put. So making sure that the software solution has those different options to be able to distinguish what one person can see over the other is going to be very important. Now, if you're the only one that's going to be using it, that doesn't matter, but that, again, depends on your church. So what will the price change if the church changes in size? Are there any cost savings if membership starts to decrease? Are there any significant penalties or increases in price if your church grows? That's important to ask up front, because you will be planning for the long term. We find that most churches, and this is from an independent survey, a different survey, they say that churches only change church management software about once every 5 years, and so you'll need to plan ahead. Number 24 there, does it integrate with other standard software? Look at what you're using at your church. That goes back to that question, what do the users use, and see, do you need any integration with that? Again, that varies depending on what you're using at the church today. How many people, we're getting to membership now, how many people do you have recorded in your database? Do you keep track of just the members? That's the next question. How many members do you have in your church, or do you keep track of members and visitors? So make sure to make note of that ahead of time, because pricing is often based on that. Then next, how many member households do you have? Now that's how we charge. We charge based on the number of households that contain at least one member. And that's not an easy number to figure out. You can do some simple math and figure about 2.5, 3 people per household. You've got 300 members, so maybe you have around 100 member households. But keeping track of this will be good to see. And you'll probably know from different mailings that you might do But for pricing, that's important to know. Now, going back to asking the different software companies, does this solution limit the number of records that can be kept for individuals? Is there a cap on that? So make sure that matches up with the number that you'll need to input. So if your church grows, can you easily upgrade the software? Is it something that happens automatically? Does it require a separate installation? Those are things to ask ahead of time, because that will determine how easy the transition will be as your church changes in size. So then what information do you ask your visitors to submit? And this ties back to adding people to the software. So as your visitors come in, if you're keeping track of them, is the information that you track able to be stored in that software? Does it allow you to quickly add visitors to the database? And in that question, we've got the church icon there, because this really varies from church to church. So does that allow you to quickly add these visitors? Depends on your personal preferences. Do you define that as quick? Number 32 there, does it allow you to print mailing labels? This is a very common use of church management software, to be able to print labels for all the members of your congregation. So that's pretty standard, but make sure you're asking that. All right, let's see here. Then, does it provide a denominational report for your church? Most church denominations require a year-end summary, and we know from speaking with some of these denominations that not every church completes it. But church management software can make it a little bit easier to complete. So does this software solution offer that? Does it automatically group your members based on data? There's an infinite number of ways to group your members. How much does this software automate that for you? Does it allow you to track involvement in small groups? Small group ministries are a very important part of many congregations, and being able to track that in your church management software is a key use. It saves you a lot of time and effort. Does it allow you to keep track of individual skills, hobbies, and other things, such as occupation, family? And that's pretty standard. It's more to what level does it let you do that. And that goes back to be able to group people. If you're planning to go on a mission trip, you may want to invite people to join you based on their skill sets, and so you'll need a place to store that information. Moving on to communication. So there's a lot of different ways churches communicate. One of the most common is your church calendar. So where does your master church calendar reside? Is it on the wall in the church office? Is it online? Is it just on the secretary or administrative assistant's computer? And is that something that can be tied in with church management software? So that's what you ask next. Does it have the functionality to serve as your church calendar? What are the primary ways that you communicate with your members? Is it simply the bulletin or the newsletter on a weekly basis, or maybe the newsletters on a monthly basis? Do you communicate via email or phone calls? And then what information do you regularly communicate to members? Is it strictly about events? Is it prayer requests? Is it requesting help? Or maybe all of the above is probably the most common answer. Then do you want the software to communicate with your website? Church websites are a very common way of disseminating information to the church staff and to the church members. So having that tied in with your church management software can save a lot of double work. So then the next question is, you start asking about specific software. Does it provide your desired level of integration with your website? Every church is different, has different needs, so make sure that the applications, the software that you're reviewing meets your needs of integrating with the website. And that may not be any at all. You may say, I don't need that, but make sure that it matches your needs. Does it allow you to send mass emails at no additional charge? Many churches will purchase or subscribe to email services that allow them to send mass emails. But there are many church management software options out there that will do that for you as part of the software. And that could save you some money elsewhere in your congregation. Same kind of thing with text messaging. Does this church management software support text messaging at no additional charge? There's a variety of subscription services out there that do that, but it is something that can be done through church management software. Will allow you to securely push your member directory online. Now, this is something that some churches don't even think about, but I know growing up in my home congregation, we always had a printed membership directory. I believe it was from Olin Mills. It had the nice photos and the glossy cover. anymore that's a large expense for churches to undergo, and it's the purpose of sharing that member directory can be done online in a secure environment. So the information is stored in your church management software. Does it allow you to share that with your website or another tool? Does it allow your members to securely communicate online? Is there a way to tie your church management information to your website and allow members to interact? I want this to be a sales pitch for our software, but that's one of the key points of our integration of our Church 360 suite is the ability to share that membership information with the website so your members can log on. Does it integrate with an automated phone tree service? Now, a lot of churches do use that, and it can be done independent of a church management software, but this is one area that church management software can save you time and effort by integrating with that. Will the software allow you to manage your facility schedule? So communicating your calendar, your facility planning across the people in your congregation who need to know that can be managed within a church management software, and so being able to track all of those events and where they're taking place. So next we'll move on to attendance. It's a very common thing. How do you take attendance at your church is the question you need to be asking. There's a variety of ways to do that. Make sure you have that planned out ahead of time, and everybody on your committee knows, okay, we take it by head count, we take it by individual. Then ask who enters that attendance information in the database, because that's a weekly task. And the person who does that should be very comfortable with the new software. Then ask, would you like for attendees to be able to check in electronically? Being able to check in at a kiosk can save the church office a lot of work. But that's sometimes not something that churches will want to do. It could be a restriction on hardware. So make sure you understand that ahead of time. That could be a decision maker for you on whether you go with one software over the other. So then as you're talking with the church management software companies, ask, does it allow you to enter the attendance in your preferred manner? Going back to how does your church do it, make sure that this software allows you to do it in the way that you'd like. You don't want to change your processes for the church management software as much as you want it to support what you're doing. Well, then ask that personal opinion question. Does it allow you to quickly enter the attendance? Based on who's doing it and how you do it, does this software allow you to do it quickly? Then does it provide that reporting capabilities? Does it give you quick access to the list of those who didn't miss? And then does it allow you to track those who did attend? Now going into that check-in option, kind of the kiosk possibility here. Do you have a need for secure check-in? And there's a couple different kinds of check-in. There's the non-secure, as we call it. It's not necessarily mean it's insecure. It just means it doesn't require the extra level of security. It's just marking that, yes, I have attended. But if you have children's ministry programs that you want to require secure check-in, that's what you ask your church and say, do we need something where it will protect the attendees? And do you currently have a secure check-in software? A lot of times these are outside of the church management software, and so depending on how integrated your church is, how much you communicate, your children's ministry director may have a solution that you don't even know about. So then what is your current process for recruiting volunteers to manage this software? Do you have certain level of security in terms of finding out who's using the software, can they be trusted? And then that goes to that next question with background checks. Does it integrate with background check providers? Do you require your volunteers to have a background check, and how many volunteers are you doing? Would it be beneficial to have it integrated with a provider of background checks? Then ask about your church, and this goes back to the security. Does your church layout limit the entry or exit of attendees? And if it does, then that's a pretty good sign that you'll need to have the check-in in there, and that could work out real well for you. If it doesn't limit the exits, then you may want to look at your layout before investing in a software that provides that. So as you're asking the church management software companies, first you'll ask, does it provide that as an option? Does it support that for multiple events at the same time? You'll have multiple Sunday school grades going on, maybe in different locations, and so you might need it to support each one of those. And then does it allow that check-in for events that don't need security? You don't need the secure check-in for a worship service, for example. So then does the security part of it require touchscreen monitors and barcode scanners with additional hardware that may be a greater expense for your congregation. Many do it without the need for those things, but make sure to ask that ahead of time so that you know the true cost of the software. Now we'll move on to offerings, something that is common in just about every single congregation. So first ask your church, in what ways do your members contribute? Is it done, the most common approach, through an offering plate passed at worship? Checks and cash are dropped in there. Do you have electronic giving? Is there recurring giving, or do you ask your members to go online and donate from your website? And then kind of map out what funds do your members contribute to. This will help you quickly test it out as you're doing a trial. Find out exactly what funds are being contributed to. Is it a long list? Is it a short list? That'll determine whether it's easy or not to enter. So then going back to volunteers, who enters or will enter the offerings in your church database. Make sure they're involved in this process so they can see whether or not it works for the way your church currently does it. And then we'll get into contribution statements. That's one of the requirements. When you have charitable giving, you need to provide statements for tax purposes. And so who is it at your church that distributes those contribution statements? And then how are these statements distributed? Is it done printed? Are they printed off and mailed? Are they picked up at the church office? Are they sent out electronically? So then as you're talking with these companies, ask, does it allow you to quickly enter offerings in your preferred way? Again, going back to your current processes, does it allow you to enter the offerings the way that you currently do that? Then ask, does it integrate with your preferred online giving vendor? If you've already got an arrangement set up and your members have usernames and passwords in order to contribute, does this software integrate with your online giving vendor, or do you need to do manual entry? Many churches are moving away from offering envelopes because of the expense or other reasons, but the vast majority still do use it. So if your church uses it, make sure to find out if this church management software supports that. Does it allow you to easily renumber the envelopes? We know if some of our customers have the same envelope number for members for years and years, and others renumber it every single year. So then into user security, does it allow you to enter offerings without seeing the names? Does it allow you to just enter the offering envelope number? Then does it convert your list of offerings into a deposit that you can put into your finance software, into your general ledger software? Does this software allow for recurring offerings? That'll help speed up the process of entering offerings for you, or it may be tied back to that online giving. Does it allow you to enter pledges for each contributor by fund? Pledges is something that is very common in many churches, and they do it in a variety of ways. But most commonly, it's you determine a pledge for a certain amount of money for a specific fund by a contributor. So if that's how your church does it, make sure that your software supports that. And then finally, does this software allow for easy distribution of your statements in your preferred manner? And that goes back to your current processes. Does it support what you're currently doing, or will you have to change? Moving on to the finance section. First off, do you plan on changing your finance software as well? This does not have to be an integrated part of the solution. If your church has a current solution that they're pleased with, that may not be something you need to look at. But there's a lot of advantages to having it tied together. So make sure that you get that question answered. And that usually goes to who is using your church finance software. They need to be involved in that decision. What is their level of accounting knowledge? Is it great? Can they handle a more complex solution, or do they need a simple, easy-use solution based on their level of accounting knowledge? And then payroll, which is often seen as a crucial part of this, but that can be done separately. Managing your general ledger is very different than managing your payroll. And there's so much that goes into payroll. Many times churches utilize third parties to manage their payroll because it's a simpler and a simpler solution with such a high-stakes process that it's better to allow professionals to do that who that's all they do. So then as you're asking church management software companies about their finance module, does it allow for the quick and easy entry of transactions? Does it require a knowledge of credits and debits? If you don't know much about credits and debits, then hopefully it won't require that, or you should at least look for one that does that automatically. Was this developed specifically for churches? Finances is not a theological thing. It's not restricted to what churches do, and so Many of the top software out there is developed for businesses, and churches just use it for their purposes. The bottom of the list there, does it provide a secure audit trail? I don't know how many times in the news you hear about a church employee embezzling funds. Having that security built in place will protect you if anything like that happens at your church. One of the most common ways of using church finance software is to print checks. Does this allow you to print checks, or does it require you to handwrite those out or do electronically? Does it allow you to process payroll either within the software, or does it integrate with a third-party software? Does it integrate with your online banking? This isn't a very common thing, but it could be helpful. There's so many different banks out there that does make it difficult, but that's a great benefit. Does it help you in your budgeting process? I know that's always a stressful time at any business, and even within the church. In my church, that's about a 6-month process that we do every year just to make sure that it goes smoothly. So does your software help you with that? Once you've found a software, make sure you understand a little bit about the company. How long have they been developing church software? Do they have a large customer base? That will tell you if they're going to be around for a while or if they're kind of a flash in the pan sort of thing. Is their average church size, is the average church size of their customers comparable with your church? Are they used to handling churches like you? And that'll give you an understanding of their capabilities. Do they offer live online product demonstrations? Can you be walked through this? Can you see this before you buy? Do they have printed materials that are available that provide information on their products? Many times with a committee working on this, you don't have the luxury of everybody being available to see the products, so being able to have printed materials is great for disseminating that information. Ask what their future plans are. Make sure that they know what they're going to be doing in the next 6 months, the next year. And ask, are there any upcoming specials or promotions? A lot of times these are on the schedule, but they haven't been advertised yet. And the salesperson you work with may be able to suggest that to you. That if you wait just a few more days, you'll be able to get a discount on there. So always ask that. Finally, we get into implementation. Ask them, how long does software implementation typically take? What is the process for that? Is there training offered? Is it free of charge, or do you have to pay extra for that? Or if you do have to pay, are there any discounts for new users? So get that process in place ahead of time. That'll make you aware of what you'll be getting yourself into. Does technical support cost extra, or is that included? If it does cost, are there any discounts for new users? What's their availability? As you're getting involved in new software, there's always going to be questions and challenges that are unique to your church, and so to be able to get that technical support is really a key part of it. And finally, are there upgrades released on a regular basis? Most software companies are continually updating based on the changing needs of churches, and so finding that out ahead of time will get you in a position to know what you're expecting, whether you'll have to plan for additional costs moving forward, and whether if you have any requested changes, if they can be implemented. So that is the list of 106 questions to ask before you buy church management software. You can download this complete church management software checklist at bit.ly /CHMS for Church Management Software Checklist. That's a quick link. It's available on our website. I'm sure as you accepted the invitation to join the webinar, you saw the list for it. We will be posting this presentation online. There will be a recording of it uploaded to our YouTube channel later on, so be sure to check back for that. I want to thank you all for attending today. I hope this has aided you in your process of finding a new church management software. It's a very big decision, but it's an exciting time for your congregation because of the different ministry options that opens up for you. So if you have any questions, please do not hesitate to contact us at Concordia Technology Solutions. I'll put my contact information back up here in just a second. Well, I think I'll have to back up here. I should have had that ready to go at the very end. I'll take you through all the questions. There you go. Again, my name is Peter Frank, and there's my contact information. Please feel free to contact me at any time with any questions. We'd be happy to help get a church management software set up at your congregation. Thank you very much. This will conclude our webinar. You all have a great day.